the most interesting part of my thing is that it genuinely at that scale of operations and that number of consumers, how do you really peg, how do you make sure that, how many of them are universal shows, how many of them are specific shows? Is literally the multiplex, single screen arguments at any given point in time? Is the argument also in that everybody, if you ask a movie producer today, he will never tell you, oh, this is only for this set of audience. Everybody wants to do a Dangal because that's the way it goes, right? The more broad-based the audience, the more the numbers. I guess it's all about that. But yeah, I think that's the most interesting part. Plus, the problem that I think all of us on the table are facing is that we all do want to create that premium content and premium this thing. The talent pipeline isn't that big. That's the other challenges that I think we all face. The other end, to create it as well, there is an ecosystem that exists for television, there's an ecosystem for feature film, there's an ecosystem for advertising. There is no ecosystem for 200 to 400 minutes of premium content that exists. We are all trying to figure this out and create that ecosystem together. And I think we'll all benefit over a period of 3 to 4 years, hopefully.
But we are all amongst friends here. I mean, so you can do some kind of confessions. Is there a piece of content you wish you had on your platform, you got your hands on that piece, which perhaps would not come to your platform? Is there something you admire a lot?
As a personal view, it would be very different, but from a platform point of view, we are programming for the mass Indian, and we are very proud about that strategy, right? Fact remains, the international platforms who have a legacy of a whole lot of international content will, I would say, not just take time, but will still cut across different audience sets very, very differently. We cater to the Bharat, right? I mean, while of course the distinction between the India Bharat and you see the lines blurring and things like that.
Where is India left anymore? I mean, I don't see any India, I only see Bharat everywhere.
True. Yes, and that's really the huge telco revolution with the Jio and things. It's all Bharat anymore. It's not just those premium telco players anymore. So from our platform point of view, we are very happy with the kind of content we are making, the kind of pipeline we have, because these are all stories that are going to be very real, very relevant, and are going to resonate with the Indian masses. That's really where my own personal preference would be anything different, but we hardly represent any percent of the population. Everyone in this room is a very small percent.
Which it's said that you stop growing when you become very comfortable. So what are the steps you take to keep your team uncomfortable?
Oh, I don't have to do much. One of the most spoken of and one of the most fetid philosophies at Amazon is day one. Some of you would have heard it. Some of you may have read a bit about it. And Jeff Bezos has this really interesting philosophy that keeps the company's culture rooted to day one. So there's a set of characteristics that are defined, which all of us embrace the minute you walk into the portals of Amazon and you're constantly tested for it. I don't want to belabor it because it's going to sound kind of, pedantic, and I don't mean that. But it is really very interesting. You could see his talks on day one and day two culture. I think the last shareholders meeting he was asked the question, so what is day two according to you? And it was pretty stark. So I think that's it's an overall culture in the company, and it's fantastic. It applies to all of us. I think the other interesting thing that also comes through is that we presented with such an amazing opportunity to bring so many great Indian stories to the fore. I think it'll be a sad day if we actually rest on our laurels and say, oh, I think we've told a few new stories and we're all very happy about it. I mean, this is a great time to be in this environment, doing the work that we're doing. So I think that itself keeps me paranoid.
Fair enough. We'll take a few questions from the audience. So if you just introduce yourself and ask a question. And do tell who you are addressing the question. Yes, please. Sana from Indian Express.
Yeah, hi. Mostly as SVOD platforms, how much has piracy kind of affected your business, and how do you plan to curb it in the coming days?
You want to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in coming days. No, so I think
the way we try to fight piracy, at least that's the culture that we come from, is that we make it like we almost make the pirater feel sad and bad about the fact that he's pirating, or he or she is pirating, right? That's the logic. So make it affordable, make the user experience great, make the ease of access, ease of payment, all those functionalities so simple and create such a fabulous value that you're able to convert the pirater into almost making them feel bad about the fact that they're pirating this piece of content. Right? We're not there as yet, but we're in that process and in that direction of making that happen. And I think from a regulatory perspective also, there's a lot of things that will potentially, and technology will play a key role in terms of, whether it was a lot of the Pirate Bay kind of sites, torrent sites that were kind of curbed and controlled, there's a little bit of cleanup. So I think it'll be a joint effort on the infrastructure side of things and the regulator side of things, and even with all platforms, with the education that we're passing on to the audiences, right? Rather than going to that store and buying that pirated DVD or downloading it off the torrent, it's almost like all this marketing and all this investment is also going and partially educating the audiences. So I think movies suffers the most. I don't see TV getting that much pirated. Some of the originals also have been pirated. We heard of obviously what happened with the Game of Thrones, but I'm saying that what we're trying to do is almost make them feel bad.
Are you greater the content, greater the motivation to pirate?
Therefore, the greater the compulsion for us to deliver great value to the customers. I mean, she's smart. If she sees great value, there's no reason, because this is so much more convenient.
No, but I think also like the experience, right? Right now we just talked about HD, there's 4K, 8K, there's AR, VR, there's immersive video. Pirates won't do any of this. So when you look at the future of video per se, the future of video piracy is not going to be relevant because you can't pirate this per se. So, tech will solve a lot of the problems for sure.
Hi, this is Ulas, and my question is to Gautam. So, we have seen evolution in terms of distribution of television in India, like DTH coming into the picture. Would MX Player will play the same role? Like everybody will contact you, and you will be playing it free for the audience, like she said, people like content free, and through you they will, came into our phone, like DTP will start. Direct to phone.
I'm not so sure in terms of we just be aggregated. That's not the model alone.
The kind of partnership you are having and the contact
Yes.
on MX Player is developing very speedily.
Yes, it's the scale that we operate. There is a huge distribution platform that we do offer to content creators, and which is why we are partnering with them. And they find value in that partnership, which is why they are also on board with us. We make sure that the content gets distributed to a new set of audiences, for their pieces of content. But it's not only an aggregator model. I guess we're doing our own originals to make sure that there is enough and more traction that comes out of that also. So it's not just an aggregation.
We can take just one last question, please. Yes, the hand in the back.
Yes. Hi. This question can be answered by anyone. I am really intrigued to know, apart from subscription fees, what are the revenue options that you have? And is there going to be a change in that? Are you trying to tap into different revenue options?
Everybody has different revenue models, so we can take another question. Yes, sir.
My name is Siraj Sayed. I'm from filmfestivals.com. The question is to Zubin Dubash. You've been a player in the media and entertainment sector for about 50 years now, like you said. But the overwhelming content that you had earlier was all film-based, or in fact, feature films themselves. So are you able to monetize any of that right now on OTT, or do you have to depend on entirely new content that you acquire?
No, so like I just said during the entire panel discussion was that there's an entire sect of audiences of the Bharat that we are talking of, which are diehard fans of older content or of that kind of content. They are fans. To that extent, we've seen comments on various social platforms of ours where you see guys who are fans who have gone and watched a Dawn of Amitabh's first Dawn about 372 times. And then we've got similar such kind of numbers and astronomical numbers of fanatics of that kind of content. And what they've been in fact pushing us very subtly in various forums is that can we have one destination to drive and consume this content? And lo and behold, we got the platform built in that breath itself to cater to that audience who says, I want great content which I have experienced all my childhood, and can I have it at one place? Because right now supply and availability of going and finding it on 20 different platforms is a challenge for me. And for that I'm willing to pay.
So, thank you very much, and thank you all of you for joining this panel.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Rajiv. I think you asked some pertinent questions, and we're all a little lucky today because we got insight, at least a few insights. Thank you.
Very happy to listen to anybody who would like the book after the presentation. Just come up and tell me why you want it, and it can be yours. So we'll drop there, and you guys can sit back and enjoy it. So I've got a couple of, I guess, one major secret that I should probably share with you, and that is this. Oh, hang on a second, I can do it on this thing. It is this. Yeah, I'm Irish, and I've been living in Oslo for about 13 years. And guys, I can't tell you how hard it is to try to persuade the Russians to allow you to go to India to talk about the Russians. Yeah? So the fact that I'm here in the first place represents a great success. And I should thank my team that I work with in Oslo for giving me the opportunity to get down here. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about two projects. 1917 Live and Romanov's 100. 1917 Live was a year-long, 12,000 tweet historic role play that answers the question, what if Twitter existed 100 years ago? And it tells the story of 1917 in Russia, Russia's revolutions, in real time for 12 months. It ran for 12 months. The tweets remain online, and we've also downloaded the entire database, which we make available to research institutions, historians, historiographers, and anybody who's interested in working with that kind of content. I'm delighted to say we've already struck up a couple of contracts with research institutions, and we're taking that on. Romanov's 100 is a photo-based social media documentary that works with 4,000 photographs that were taken by Russia's last royal family to piece out a picture of what we would call a lost Russia. The materials for all projects are available at these two websites. Everything from the tweets, the Instagram posts, the YouTube videos, through to the promotional material, which I'll certainly hope to focus on with you today. I want to also thank the guys from the previous panel, and certainly thank my fellow speakers today, because it's been amazing to come so far and to realize that the principles of our work are absolutely one and the same. And I'll be speaking a little bit about authenticity to you today and how we managed to realize that in our work. So, our storytelling was largely based on these three principles. Get your audience in, give them something to remember your content by, give them something to talk about, and then to inspire them to learn. I think that's probably the end goal for pretty much all of us in the room right now, and I think that's where audiences are going. My own background was in journalism and social media. I watched in a Moscow newsroom as social media collided into the news industry. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm pretty convinced that the result was not entirely pretty. But what we do have as a result of that, excuse me, is very savvy consumers who demand integrity from start to finish in storytelling and demand authenticity because they're aware of the dangers out there in the digital environment. Stories, Annie Murphy-Paul wrote the stories that she says they have the capacity to reach the capacity of the brain to construct a map of other people's intentions, a theory of mind. Narratives offer a unique opportunity to engage this capacity as we identify with characters' longings and frustrations, guess at their hidden motives, and track their encounters with friends and enemies, neighbors and lovers. So in this sense, we're speaking about stories and not scripts. Stories spark the imagination. They trigger a reflection through which learning occurs. A different kind of learning that inscribes itself on memory. Tyler Nakatsu of JFF Labs added on that. To reach this, we need storytelling that answers what's at stake for characters and choice points when an action or decision occurs that reflects a value or a moral. This relationship between memory and learning is built on a reflexivity that the audience now undertakes, and it's often triggered by an experience when expectations are disrupted. Now, speaking of disrupting expectations, a great example, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a documentary that was, well, it's a piece of art in my opinion, that was done by Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings director, who took World War I footage and submitted it to his team, and they retreated it, and they've colorized and added depth to this extraordinary footage to give it a new life. And I think it's fair to say that the creative seeds for 1917 Live were sown for us in 2014, as Europe marked 100 years since the beginning of World War I, as the world did in fact. And at the time, Europe was slipping into a populism and a reactionary kind of politics. And we saw parallels between what was happening in Europe in 2014 and the outbreak of World War I. In 2016, we watched a single social media account tell day-to-day events of the Irish Rising, the Irish Revolution, which happened in 1916 and kind of sparked the final push towards independence from the British Empire, which triggered a civil war in 1922. But we knew what was coming in 1917, and we set out to build something new. And 30 international prizes later, speaking to you here today in Mumbai at Promax India, I can pretty safely say I think we did okay. So in 2017, as the world marked the centenary of the Russian Revolutions, events that changed the course of global history, we asked ourselves, how can we tell such a complicated story for the social media age? How would the stories be told? What would people say on public platforms that are open to almost all? Which platform would this particular political, polarized dramatis personae publish on? And how would they convey these slow-moving events that changed the course of history? So we asked ourselves, what if Twitter existed 100 years ago? For 1917, we built a cast of 50 dramatis personae, 50 characters, around a fictitious newspaper. It was called the Russian Telegraph initially, and after the revolution it became the Revolutionary Times. Most characters were real historical figures, but we did use some ideal types. For example, we used a Petrograd baker who was getting really pissed off about the fact that the government was fucking up and the police couldn't get flour to his mill, and he would tweet daily about the fact that, like, police can't guarantee the security in my city, this is sad! Exclamation mark, echoing a particular politician I think we're all familiar with at the moment. We offered our audience the chance to create historical avatars of their own, and they were largely based on authentic characters of that period, and dozens joined in. Many of them were academics, historians, but then a community emerged of history buffs and people who really just wanted to participate. Our success with 1917 Live was built on that of Twitter, whose motto was what used to be, what's happening now. And this is when Twitter would talk to us, by the way. They wouldn't talk to us emotionally. So we were able to build out real-time mini narratives like this. We were able to convey the kind of relentless, day-to-day, slow-moving experiences that you don't often see in history books. This is the example of Vladimir Lenin's famous journey in a closed train from Switzerland through Germany, Sweden, and then eventually to Petrograd. And we had a Lenin tracker online, and his tweets were being busted up on that. We were able to play with the character. But it also allowed us to kind of step away from that kind of Hollywoodization of history and present history as a slow-moving and real event, real phenomenon. So let me give you an example of how we work. Guys, can you bring up the audio on that, or do I have audio? Maybe I have the audio. No? We don't have audio? Start again. Let's take it back. You getting any audio feed off the? No, it's dead. Okay, that's unused. Start again. Sorry, guys. We had audio this morning, but we don't seem to have audio now. Okay. The initial things too long? Yeah, okay, let's put it maybe not, yeah? Okay. So, yeah, what we did was basically build an ecosystem, a video ecosystem. So this goes back to, I think, some of the issues that you guys have been talking about today, but some of the issues that were talked about in a couple of brilliant workshops yesterday too, about layering your storytelling and adding kind of platform layers around that. So we started with a series of Twitter characters. I should say, when we started this in the Moscow newsroom, it wasn't really regarded as a good idea. The newsroom thought this was a bit too niche, and they really didn't want to get us particularly behind it. So this was 3 guys that started this, who would put together the content for the next day, at night, having put the kids to bed, etc., etc. After three months into this project, we submitted for a shorty, and we won a shorty for education. One of us went to New York, came back with a shorty prize, we put it on the table in the network, and said, guys, we just won a shorty, and they said, that was freaking awesome, guys. Would you like to speak to the video guys about maybe doing some content around that? Would you like to build it out? So it became a much more sophisticated storytelling operation once we got involved with the promotional team, about whom I'll speak later. This was a Vladimir Lenin Periscope that went very well in an authentic recreation of his hideout. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. And this is a 360 series that we made, again, that told the story around Moscow and Petrograd, particularly during that time. Now, our work on 1917 Live brought us into regular contact with the Russian state archives. Why? Because content is king. You can't just publish your text tweets, people aren't going to engage with that. We needed documents, PDFs, pictures, and file footage. So during our work in the archives, we came across a large trove of photographs that had been taken by the Romanov family themselves. They were camera geeks, and we persuaded the archive to allow us work with them. They digitized these photographs for us, and we built a project known as Romanov's 100 out of that. The project itself, I think, is probably, it's a visual storytelling project rather than a kind of narratively driven storytelling project, and it works in a slightly different way. Let's take it on. So the Romanovs, as we now know, they were photography pioneers. They owned the first Kodak cameras, and they owned panorama cameras. So panoramas were being taken in 1903 using Kodaks, even if not a little bit before that. They weren't invented by Apple. Let's just be very clear about that. And the Romanovs also had a workshop in their palace where they developed the photographs, and they would even colorize some of the photographs. However, this extraordinary trove of photographic archive was kept obviously in the dark during Soviet rule, and we were the first guys in there to have an opportunity to work with these photographs in a new way and give them a new second digital life. In our campaign methodology, we decided to focus on single photographs and try to build out backstories, and I'll show you a couple of promos, which I'm really hoping will have audio, but anyway, we'll see how we go. So we turned 4,000 photographs of and by the last Russian royal family into image-first social media narratives. Accounts over 4 social media networks review the last decades of the Russian Empire, as seen through the lenses and the eyes of the Romanov family. And every published photograph was thoroughly researched to create platform-native storytelling. So one of the most important decisions we made in telling both stories was choosing which platform we publish on, and in what way. Each has a voice, a cachet, a demographic, a mode. I think we're all entirely familiar with